Here are 7 hidden traits only INTPs have. Number 1, they're quietly observing everything and everyone. INTPs are the silent cameras of the personality world. You'll think they're zoning out, lost in thought, or maybe even bored, but nope. They're actually recording everything, every tone shift, every contradiction, every strange behavior in the room. It all goes into the INTP's mental database for later analysis. You might think you're just casually talking, but they're studying how you talk, what you emphasize, what you don't say, and why you said it that way. It's not creepy, it's curiosity. The INTP brain just loves data, and people are some of the most fascinating data sets out there. They'll remember that tiny thing you mentioned once 3 months ago, not because they're sentimental, but because it fits a pattern they've been tracking subconsciously. And if you ever hear them quietly chuckle mid-conversation, it's probably because they've just connected 3 unrelated things you said over the last year and realized something you haven't. The funny part, INTPs don't even try to do this. Observation is their default setting. They watch, absorb, and analyze before they ever react, which is why they often seem detached at first. They're just collecting information, mentally testing hypotheses about how everything and everyone works. Number 2. They question reality just for fun. For most people, questioning reality is an existential crisis. For an INTP, it's a Tuesday. They'll be sitting here halfway through a cup of coffee when their brain suddenly goes, "Wait, how do I know this coffee even exists? What if I'm just a brain in a simulation tasting imaginary bitterness?" And that's it. Goodbye productivity. The rest of the day is spent spiraling through layers of logic, philosophy, and hypothetical universes. And somehow, they enjoy it. This is their version of fun. INTPs don't just accept reality at face value, they poke it, flip it upside down, and analyze the screws that hold it together. To them, truth is a puzzle, and everything is fair game for deconstruction. Beliefs, social rules, science, even their own thoughts. They'll doubt what they know, then doubt why they doubted it, and end up creating a whole new theory in the process. People sometimes think they're overthinking or being difficult, but for the INTP, this is exploration. Their mind lives in a state of perpetual curiosity, like a scientist who never turns the microscope off. The point isn't to find the ultimate truth, it's to chase it. And honestly, it's part of their charm. While everyone else is focused on what's real, the INTP is asking, but what if it isn't? And that's how they end up making connections no one else sees. Because they're not just living in the world, they're reverse engineering it. Number 3, their imagination is way more active than they admit. You never know it from their calm, poker-faced exterior, but inside an INTP's head, it's basically Inception meets Rick and Morty, a non-stop stream of theories, mental experiments, and imaginary what-if scenarios running at 200 miles per hour. They might look quiet on the outside, but that's only because their brain is already hosting a 10-episode season of the multiverse according to me. 1 minute they're thinking about how black holes work, and 5 seconds later they're imagining how society would collapse if cats suddenly gained political power. There's no filter, just pure uncut imagination. The thing is, INTPs rarely show this side openly. They tend to downplay it because they don't want to sound weird, even though they totally are, in the best way possible. They casually say something like, "I was just thinking," and then drop a thought experiment that sounds like it came straight out of a philosophy professor's fever dream. Their imagination isn't about escaping reality, it's about testing it. Every idea becomes a mental sandbox. What happens if I change this variable? What if the opposite is true? That's how they innovate, create, and sometimes accidentally invent entire worlds in their minds. Number 4, they secretly crave structure, but on their own terms. If you ask an INTP whether they like structure, they'll probably roll their eyes and say something like, "I don't do rules." But plot twist, they absolutely need structure. They just refuse to admit it. You see, INTPs are mental explorers. Their thoughts can go in 100 directions at once, which is both their greatest gift and their biggest curse. Without some kind of framework, their ideas spiral into an endless black hole of maybe, what if, and let's rethink that entire thing from scratch. It's exciting until it's 4 a.m. and they've outlined 12 systems of reality but still haven't done the dishes. So secretly, they crave order, not the external kind. No one's telling an INTP what to do, but their kind of order. Systems they designed, routines that make sense to them, rules that can be broken if logic allows. It's not about discipline, it's about efficiency of thought. They need structure the way a scientist needs a lab, not to restrict creativity, but to channel it. Of course, they'll never admit this out loud. They'll insist they go with the flow, all while keeping 14 folders of neatly categorized notes, bookmarked research, and obscure theories. Their room might look like chaos, but their mind, it's a labyrinth with its own precise internal logic. Number 5. They detach from emotions to understand them better. Instead of thinking, I'm sad, their brain goes, interesting, my emotional system appears to be generating a sadness response. What triggered this? It's not that they're cold or heartless, it's that their natural instinct is to understand before reacting. Their feelings become a fascinating internal puzzle, not something to drown in. It's actually kind of beautiful in a nerdy way. When they detach from emotions, it's not avoidance, it's curiosity. They want to see the emotion from every angle, like a scientist holding it up to the light and saying, fascinating specimen. It's how they gain control and clarity, because emotions to them are chaotic data that needs to be sorted before it makes sense. Of course, this makes them look emotionally distant to others. People might say, you're so detached. And the INTP's like, no, I'm literally trying to understand why I feel this way so I can fix it. It's empathy through logic, unconventional but deeply sincere. And here's the twist. When they do finally understand their feelings, it hits like a delayed explosion. The emotion they've been dissecting suddenly comes to life, intense, raw, and fully processed. That's when they finally feel it, just with a 48-hour delay. Number 6, they love people from a safe analytical distance. Yes, the INTP way of showing affection, standing 5 feet away, watching you intently and analyzing your personality like it's a fascinating new species. They genuinely like people, even if it doesn't always look that way. They're intrigued by how humans think, how emotions work, and why people make the choices they do. But emotional closeness, that's tricky. For INTPs, relationships are like experiments. They want to observe first, collect data, then maybe decide if it's safe to get attached. When they care about someone, they don't gush, hug, or overshare. Instead, they'll remember weirdly specific details about you, like your favorite snack, or that one obscure topic you mentioned months ago, and bring it up later in a completely casual tone. That's INTP language for you matter. They crave connection, but on their terms. Logical, honest, low drama. They hate emotional games and forced intimacy. If they like you, it's because they've analyzed your patterns, tested your consistency, and concluded you're worth the emotional investment, which for an INTP is huge. Number 7. They're more confident than they seem, just not in the usual ways. INTPs are quietly, surprisingly confident, but it's not the loud, flashy kind of confidence you see in extroverts. They don't walk into a room expecting applause or validation. Instead, their confidence is internal, subtle, and highly selective. They trust their ability to analyze, problem solve, and understand complex systems. When an INTP says something, they've usually run the scenario through countless mental tests before speaking. That's why they can calmly drop insights that leave everyone else scratching their heads, even if they're whispering it like a passing thought. Here's the twist. INTPs often underplay their own competence because self-promotion feels awkward. They'd rather let results, logic, and well-placed ideas speak for them. To the outside world, they might seem hesitant, shy, or unsure, but underneath, they're quietly thinking, I know exactly what I'm doing. It's like watching a genius undercover, brilliant, precise, and totally aware of their own strengths. They just don't feel the need to announce it. Their confidence isn't about ego, it's about competence, curiosity, and trust in their own mind. These videos will be really helpful for you.